This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
The Organisation of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has announced that Nigeria's oil production for the month of April has increased to 1.28 million barrels per day. This number is higher than what was recorded for the month of March 2024, and it also means that Nigeria has become the largest producer of oil on the African continent. Joining us this morning to explore the significance of Nigeria's increased oil production is oil and gas expert Afolabi Akinrogunde. Mr. Akinrogunde, good morning and thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Pleasure to be here.
What do you make of this report regarding Nigeria's increased oil production for the month of April?
Well, I think it's a bit of green shoots in terms of it came for Nigerian oil and gas. The work that the government has been doing really has paid off in terms of support for the industry, in terms of showing signs to the officers in the industry that it is ready to at least talk and hopefully arrive at solutions for some of the problems in the industry, being funding, security, what have you. However, it's also important to also put this in context. When I joined the oil and gas industry about 20 years ago, Nigeria was producing 2.2 million barrels of oil. So we're down to one. There was a time we went to about 900,000. We're up to 1.2 million now. And Angola itself was producing well over 1 million barrels a few years ago. They've had their own problems, which is why they're where they are today. So I think, yes, all things are done. Let's continue doing the good things. But let's also know that we have a very, very, very long way to go. When I joined, it was about 20 years ago. We were doing about 1 million barrels. We're more than 1 barrels now. So I think, yes, what the government is doing good, let's know that there's still a long way to go. Claw back all of the loss we've had last 20 years due to lack of investment, security, and what have you, oil theft and what have you. So I think, yeah, the key now is to dissect the causes of where we are and which of the things that led to the current situation are permanent, which of them can be tweaked, such that we can then dissect and know, okay, what do we need to do to continue along this trend. But if what has been temporary causes, then we know that there are still a lot more challenges to come in.
One of the things that stands out is that secondary sources put Nigeria's crude production at 1.3 million barrels per day in April. And despite the figures that we've mentioned in this conversation, we know that they are still decreased from, I think this was maybe 3 or 4 months ago when we managed to do about 1.4, including condensates. So it does beg the question of sustainability, whether you see us being able to either sustain 1.2 or continue to build on it progressively as the year draws to an end.
Exactly. Like I said, yeah, 1.2 because the Angolans too have a few challenges of their own, but 1.2 is not something which we can't be happy about it. But knowing that we've done 1.4, we've done 1.8, we've done 2 million before, to know that there is a lot more joy that can be gotten out of those assets, and to put in place the policies to ensure that we sweat those assets, that we attract the investment, the confidence needed by the operators in the ecosystem to put more money in the ecosystem, to put more money in the assets, to invest more, so that we can then begin to boost our production. So I think it's become clear to everybody. A decade or two ago, we were thinking, if you don't like it, you can leave. But when I joined the oil and gas industry, there were only about 3 or 4 producers of oil on the continent. Today, Ghana is the producer. Today, there are 15 countries who will produce oil and gas. So, investors are not the only game in town anymore. So I think the government is beginning to realize that. But the speed with which they put in place the policies, the consistency with they apply those policies, and the critical things that will give the confidence to the operators, especially also security. Security is also critical. But the consistency, the speed, and the cooperation they have will basically enable. And this is not a quick fix. You get me? If you're going to do 500,000 barrels more, you need to spend that money to take and benefit from it in 2-3 years' time. It's not something you can do in 6 months. I think we need to start seeing that now.
Listening
start benefiting.
Hearing your assessment of this clearly shows that the 1.7 million barrels per day that we pegged our 2024 budget at was unrealistic in the first place if we go by the statement you just made. One of the latest developments in the sector is the NUPRC announcing that up to 12 oil blocks licensing rounds have begun and will go on for about 9 months. What sort of impact do you see this having on the sector?
No, really, I think we have a lot of production locked in. There's a lot of production locked in Nigeria. I would have added 5,000 barrels, which can come out. You solve the problems with the pipelines, you solve the problems with security, the problems that need to be made up. The these are a few $100 million. But if you solve all those, then definitely we can bring all of that production online. So we don't need to do new investments, really. We just need to sweat those assets. Sort out all the security issues, sort out all the oil test issues, and ensure that then all of that production comes out. So that wasn't in the room. Maybe there's some work that's been done to ensure that all those gaps are plugged. That then we can do that. So that is one thing. But then in terms of giving us an extra brand new 500k barrels, brand new up to 1 million barrels, this is fresh investment that needs to be made. Fresh investment that needs to be made with new assets. So the rounds, which you've mentioned by the NUPRC, is basically you have short term, solve all the problems I have now, such that what I have not taken can come out. So maybe you get up to 500, I don't know, at the end of the year we will have that conversation. But then you also then have the longer term. How do I get brand new 500k up to 1 million from about 4, 5, 6 investments out of the ground? That is what the rounds, which you see right now, is about. And those ones are our medium term games, and medium term plays. 4, 5, 6 years time, this will start showing us, giving us joy as a country. So it's good to play for today, the medium term and the long term. I think that's the strategy I see. But the key thing is going to be how consistent that we will be, how serious we will be, and how well are we able to actually be cooperative with the players in the ecosystem to actually enable this happen.
Right. Well, Mr. Akinrogunde, thank you very much for your time and your expertise on this conversation. Our guest, Mr. Afolabi Akinrogunde, is an oil and gas expert, and he joined us this morning to speak on the OPEC report that indicates that Nigeria's oil production per day has climbed to 1.28 million barrels. This is, of course, an upward climb from what was recorded in the month of March. And, of course, he spoke to us about the economic impacts of this increase in oil production.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.